Welcome to your gentle practice. Today in our class I'm going to be using my yoga block, but if you don't have a block you can use a nice sturdy book. Cookbooks are often a good option. I'm also going to have my belt. If you don't have a yoga belt you can use your dressing gown belt, or just some nice longish kind of sturdy belt would be great. Hope you enjoy. We're going to be looking at releasing the psoas, and I know that's something that a lot of people will benefit from. In our practice today, we're going to be looking at releasing the psoas muscle on each side of the body. Now, it kind of runs from about here right through to the sternum. So you can imagine that it is attached to many other muscles and joints and vertebra. And when we get tense and stressed out, we tend to really kind of curl inwards, withdraw. This can create quite a bit of tension in the psoas. And also when we do a lot of sitting, we put the body in a position of being contracted naturally as we sit. So releasing the psoas is a wonderful thing because it allows so many other things to settle around it and to lengthen and release as well. So that's what we're going to be playing with today. And as always, take it nice and gently, go at your pace and listen to your body right throughout. We're going to start by lying down, bending the knees. And let's take the knees together, dropping them into the middle and having your feet quite wide, even as wide as the mat if you like. And resting your hands on your tummy or maybe by the side of the body. Just taking a moment to really settle in, to arrive for your practice, wherever you might be. Pressing the pause button on any distracting thoughts, concerns, or to-do lists. Letting everything just sit by the side of the mat. And giving yourself this time to be completely present for your practice, right here and right now. Scanning through your body now and just being aware of where points of tension or tightness might be arising, or perhaps where you're feeling some fatigue in the body. Noticing also where the body might feel spacious and energized and strong. Welcoming everything about how you are physically, just as it is right now. And then becoming aware of your breathing. Noticing the rise and the fall in the breath. And also being present to the little pauses that naturally occur between the movements of your breathing. At the top of your inhale and at the end of your exhale. Allowing your inhalations to be expansive in every direction, right from the center of your chest. And each time you're breathing out, sensing an engagement of the pelvic floor, of the abdominal wall as you're letting the breath go. Even aware of the hip points drawing together and the bottom ribs coming together as you let go. Finding those little pauses in between. Every breath you take in, expansive and nourishing. And every exhale, letting go a little more. And then when you're ready, let's heel toe the feet into the middle of the mat. And we're going to lift the feet off the mat now. Take your arms wide, maybe a little less than shoulder height. And we're going to drop the knees over to the right side. Let's stack the hips, the knees and the ankles. And we might roll the gaze to the left, or you might let your gaze be to the ceiling. And each time you're breathing out, welcoming your left shoulder a little bit closer to the floor on the left side. And each time you're breathing in, expanding broadly into the left side of your rib cage. Take another inhalation here. And then as you exhale, take your left arm and cross it over the body to the right side. And then when you breathe in again, if it's okay for your shoulder, take that arm all the way overhead. If that doesn't feel so good for your shoulder, you can take it a little wider instead, or even return it to just being out from the side of the body. See what feels best for you. And then sensing a lengthening right through the left side of the body. If your arm is overhead, you might sense this through the upper arm and the armpit, and then down through the side of the body on the left. And then let's return that arm down to the side of the body now. We're going to bring the knees back to center, and then let's take them over to the left side. So again, stacking the hips, the knees and the ankles, gazing to the ceiling or gazing to the right if that feels okay for your neck. Each exhale, coaxing the right shoulder a little closer to the floor, and each inhalation expanding broadly into the right side of your rib cage. Take one more inhalation here, and then as you exhale, send your right arm over the body to the left side. And then when you breathe in again, you might take that arm high overhead, if that's okay for your shoulder, or you might take it more of a Y shape out to the side, or directly at shoulder height. See what works for you on this side of your body. Remembering left and right sides might be entirely different, and welcoming that as it is. And just getting a sense again of that lengthening through the side body, up through the armpit, through the upper arm on the right side, and all the way down to the hip. And then when you're ready, release your right arm to the side of the body. And let's bring the knees back to center again. So now let's take our block or your book. If you're using a cookbook or a sturdy book, we're going to place that directly under the pelvis. So we don't want it anywhere near the small of the back, but directly under the bony mass of the pelvis. Placing your shoulders down evenly, just bringing your head to a nice position of symmetry here. Then we're going to start to straighten out the legs. Now, if you find at any point that it's feeling a bit much to have your legs straight, by all means, take the knees into a bent position again. But if it is okay for you to have straight legs, let's allow them to be long and maybe even point the toes. And just noticing that rise in the pelvis. And each time you're breathing out, really sensing that lengthening of the psoas on each side, visualizing it running from the sternum down to your hip points and then through to the upper part of your inner thighs. And as you're taking this position, just being aware of all the other joints, bones, and muscles that are having this relationship in your body with the psoas. And as it starts to lengthen and release, they too get permission to let go a little. Let go of gripping, let go of clenching, of tightness, and come into a more relaxed and stable position. Taking one more round of breath here. And then let's bend the knees again, resting the foot on the mat, the feet rather, on the mat. And then from here, let's gather up the right leg. We're going to bring this in towards the chest. So you might clasp your hands over your shin or over your knee or even behind your thigh. See what feels best for you. And again, if it feels okay to lengthen out through your left leg, go ahead and take that leg long. If it's better for you today to keep a bend in your left knee, do that. Follow your body's lead always when you're practicing. And working with your breath now, as you're breathing out, guiding the right thigh into the chest. And as you're breathing in, imagine you can take the breath all the way down to the base of the left foot and right up to the top of the left shoulder. Getting a sense of completely expanding and lengthening through the left side of the body. And each exhalation, guiding that right thigh in a little more. And then when you're ready, let's release the right leg. We'll bend both legs again, resting the feet on the mat. And then let's bring the left one in towards the chest. So again, your hands might be around the shin, over the knee or behind the thigh. See if it feels okay to extend your right leg long. If it's okay, do that. If you need a bend in the right knee, do that. And again, both sides of the body might be quite different from each other, so paying attention. Working with your breathing again, visualizing as you breathe in that you can take the breath all the way down to the base of the right foot and all the way up to the top of the right shoulder. And each time you're breathing in, stable and strong through the midline and guiding the left thigh in towards the chest. Taking one more round of breath here. And then let's release from this, bending both knees again. And now let's drop the knees open to the side and just bring the soles of your feet together, resting your hands on your tummy. Aware of the back being in a little bit of a back bend shape. And allowing your inhalations to be soft and expansive, imagining you can breathe right into your hip creases and into the inner thighs, soft in the belly and in the chest. And then every exhale, starting right at the base of the pelvic floor and having that sense of drawing inwards and upwards through the body as the abdominal wall becomes involved in the act of exhaling. And then when you're ready, on your next exhalation, we'll bring the knees back together, engaging the abdominal wall. And then let's lift the hips up and we'll take your block or your book out of the mix now, popping that to the side. And let's just do a little windscreen wiper action with the knees to reset the spine. And then we'll get our belts. So we want to put the belt behind the left thigh and we're going to take the right foot on top of your left knee now. Lifting your left foot off the mat, letting it just dangle. We want to establish a neutral spine position here. So just checking that you have a little bit of space between the lower back and the floor, that you're not pressing the lower back in to the mat and then raising the hips as a consequence. We're keeping a nice long neutral spine. And working with your exhalation to gently guide the left thigh in towards the chest. And as you're breathing in, imagine you can breathe directly into your right hip, meeting any tension that you're holding in the right hip with that soft, expansive quality of your breath. Merging these opposite sensations. You might choose to stay just as you are, or perhaps you want to take your left leg into the air and flex the foot if that feels okay. But continuing to stay present with your breath, keeping your spine in that neutral position. And then when you're ready, if your leg is straight, we'll bend the knee, bring the foot back down to the mat, and then release from this position. We're going to change over now, taking the belt behind the right thigh now. The left foot goes on top of the right knee. And then let's lift the right foot off the mat, drawing the right thigh in towards the chest with your belt, and let's just take a moment to check in on your spine's position. If it's pressing down against the floor, we want to just create that little bit of space between the lower back and the floor, the spine in axial extension, nice and neutral. And as you work with your breathing, imagining you can breathe it directly into your left hip now, welcoming the breath as a tool to dissolve tension you're holding there, inviting the softness, the expansive quality of the breath into any tension you're holding. And each exhalation gently guiding the right thigh into the chest. If you want to send your right leg up into the air, go ahead and do that. Flexing the foot, getting that engagement through the back of your leg as you flex the foot. Or if you prefer to keep your leg bent, stay as you are. And then when you're ready, let's release the right foot back down to the mat. Let your left foot down, and we can put the belt to the side now. We're done with that. So setting up in position for desk pose now. I want you to imagine today that you have Velcro. Along your back is the loopy side, and along your mat is the hooky side. So as we're rolling in and out of this shape, I want you to see as you move if you're able to make that contact like Velcro would in the lifting up and the coming back down again, just to see if we can get more of a connection with each vertebra in the movement. We start by having the hips, the knees and the ankles all lined up. So that means a little bit of space between your feet. And then when you're ready, inhale and lift your hips and your chest into the air. Take your arms overhead or wide. Start to breathe out, and then let's imagine Velcro down your spine as you release it little by little to the floor. Really noticing if you can get into that lumbar curve before the pelvis comes down. And then peeling up little by little as you breathe in back into the shape again. So imagining that strip of Velcro, taking it little by little, vertebra by vertebra, as you come down to the mat on the exhales. And then in lifting into the shape as you breathe in again, imagine peeling up little by little through that strip of Velcro. Taking a few more rounds, just being with the spine in movement. And perhaps there are places that are a little elusive with this Velcro idea today. And that's okay too. This practice is all about just becoming aware of the habits that we have in the body, in our movement, and in our thoughts. When you come into your next elevation, let's stay there for a little bit. We're going to bring the arms back down to the mat though. And you can either rest your hands directly on the floor, or you might clasp your hands behind your back and walk the shoulders in a little. So bringing your attention again to the idea of the psoas and where it is in your body. Each time you breathe in, imagine you can lengthen from the knees to the shoulders on each side. And each time you're breathing out, sensing that engagement of the abdominal wall, that engagement of the pelvic floor. Stable and strong as you breathe out, and offering length and expansion as you breathe in. Really firing up your legs to support you in the shape. When you're ready, let's really gently peel back down to the mat, little by little releasing. And then lift your feet up. Give your knees a good squeeze, or maybe you want a little rock or a little roll. You might even feel like curling up a little. See what feels best for you in the way of a counter pose for the shape we were just making. And then when you're ready, let's roll over to the right side and come up onto all fours. You might like something soft under your knees unless you're already on the carpet. And sitting up in cat pose, so hands under the shoulders, elbows nice and soft, and finding length from the crown to the tailbone. Breathe in here in cat. And then as you exhale, move to cow pose, tucking the chin and tailbone under. Return to cat again, lifting your gaze. And on your exhale, moving to child's pose, bringing the hips over the ankles, the chin into the chest. Breathing into cat again, finding neutral. Moving to cow as you exhale. Returning to cat again as you breathe in, lifting the gaze this time. And then moving on to child's pose, letting all the breath leave you as you arrive. Come to cat pose again, breathing in. And then let's bring the left knee forward. We're going to allow the right leg to become longer and sit down on your left hip. Taking your arms into a position where you can invite length into your spine. So for some of us, that's going to mean the arms are quite forward. And for some of us, it's going to mean they're around the knee or the thigh area. Let's lengthen out a little more down to the ends of the toes of the right foot and get a sense of that lengthening through the front of the right hip and up from the hip to the sternum, allowing your hip points to be really even on both sides. And then when you're ready, walk your hands forward. So we're going to come into a resting version of our pigeon pose. So you might bring your head to rest on a stack of fists, or if you're using a block or your books, you could rest your forehead on either the tall side of your block, the medium, the lowest one. And for some of us, it's going to feel good to bring the forehead down to the mat directly today. Every single time we arrive on the mat, we just tune into how the body is. So just because we do something one way at one time doesn't mean we do it that way every time. It's always about the practice of observing the body in movement and in stillness. Inching the toes of the right foot a little further away from the crown, a little more lengthening through the right side of the body. And when you're ready, let's come back up onto all fours again, returning to our cat shape. You might like to just take a couple of rounds of cat-cow to bring things back to neutral again. And then after you arrive in cat next time, let's bring the right knee forward. So we're going to lengthen out through the back of the left leg now, sitting down on the right hip, and again finding a position where you can arrange the spine with length. That might mean your hands are somewhere near your knee, it might mean your hands are forward of the body, it actually doesn't matter. What we want to be able to do is find length through the back of the neck, broadness across the collarbones, and length through every aspect of the spine, wherever that position might be for you. Drawing the left toes back, so we're getting a lengthening through the front of the left hip and up to the sternum. And again, we'll walk the hands forward, choosing to either rest your head on the mat or on a stack of fists, or using your block or your book. You're probably going to find that this side of the body is quite different to the other when you come into the resting position. There's always one stronger side of the body and often one tighter side of the body as well. Lengthening out through the toes of the left foot, getting just a little more engagement through the front of that left hip and keeping the hip points even. Taking one more round of breath here. And then let's press up onto all fours again. And from here, we'll take an exhale to child's pose, letting all of the breath go. You might take your knees quite wide if you want to, or keep them closer together, see what feels right. Give your head just a little movement side to side, easing out any tension in the neck and the shoulders. Opening the breath up into the back of the body, expanding into the back of the rib cage and into the sides of the ribs. And then when you're ready, find your way onto your back again, lying down, knees bent. Take your feet wide, bring the knees into the middle again, just like we did at the beginning of class. Resting your hands on your tummy and letting go of our physical practice now, just allowing things to settle and soften. Feeling the heaviness of the back of your head as it rests on the floor. Letting the shoulders go. Feeling the weight of the pelvis. Each knee resting upon the other. And the weight of your feet on the floor. Sensing into your own heart beating. The coolness of the air against your skin. Allowing yourself to be exactly where you are. Relaxed, restored, and at ease. And in this state of deep relaxation, finding gratitude towards yourself for having taken time today to practice yoga, doing something nourishing and restorative just for you. And finding gratitude too for being in a healthy and agile body, able to breathe and move freely, to live where we do, and be able to make all the choices you can about the life you want to live. Inviting a little movement into your fingers and toes. Deepening your breathing again. Inviting your senses back into your awareness. Taking a long stretch through the body or drawing your knees up to your chest. And then finding your way to a comfortable seated position when you're ready. And let's meet with our hands at Anjali Mudra, docked at the heart, all the fingertips in connection. And as prana rises through the central channel of the body, imagining your spine bathed in soft white light, nourished by every breath. Each time you breathe in, the body being filled with prana, with animating life force. And every time you let the breath go, allowing what no longer serves you to be breathed out of your system. Let's chant the sound of Om together to close our class and to hold us all in connection wherever we might be. Om. Have a beautiful day, everyone. Namaste.